Okay, so the next gist is about Rivers, River State. That's the goose that lays the golden egg. According to the president, we don't need to let that goose die, because if the goose dies, we can't get the golden egg again. And maybe because they also know that River State is one of the states that actually lays the golden egg. The fulcrum of the economy, rests with the resources beneath the soil of River State. That's the reason why we started seeing some kind of, irresponsible actions, people going to bomb the pipelines and all that, because the president had, of course, that's even what led the president to announce an emergency rule. But of course, the series of events. We've talked about these things. I don't want to be sounding like a broken drum or whatever. But now there is a military administrator in Rivers. The emergency rule has sacked the governor, his deputy, and the Rivers State House of Assembly. So he says, everybody go and rest for 6 months. Maybe after 6 months, if people are ready to deal, then we can bring you back. But if you're not, we'll give him another 6 months, to continue. But I think that reason will prevail, wisdom will prevail this time around. Like I said, it's about time for them, to go to a round table, a dialogue, and then see how they can sort out themselves. So what's the issue? The president acted based on security report. He didn't just wake up like some people say, oh, why did the president announce an emergency rule? You shouldn't have sacked a democratically elected government. Let me even ask, was there a government in Rivers? Didn't they even hear the Supreme Court talk about that? The Supreme Court said there was no democratic government in Rivers State. That what you had was more like a despot in charge. Where the rule of might was prevailing over the rule of law. And what's the reason? Because they say the governor flouted, disobeyed all the court orders from the High Court to the Appeal Court and to the Supreme Court. All the story, if I start that one, we may not go away. But the truth is that that's actually what happened. So for me, what the president did was to save the day, because the moment the assembly sent that notice of gross misconduct to the governor and the deputy, the next thing was impeachment. Well, I think the president had to move in to also maybe save the governor of that impeachment, or at least delay the process until when they come back. But what happened was that we began to hear fire here, fire there. They began to bomb the oil installations and all that. Of course, no president will sit idly and watch this madness go on. We are trying to ramp up oil production, and then we are now beginning to see some mad people going to, break the pipelines and all that. It's not even as if it's all about the crude they want to steal. They just want to create chaos. And then, of course, unfortunately for the governor, in the heat of playing politics, he didn't watch his tongue, his rhetoric. He said, well, if the State Assembly is planning to impeach me or planning not to allow me to present the budget again, well, I'm just telling the youth, be calm. When the time comes, I will tell you where to go. I beg, you need to watch that clip where he said it. I'm just saying what he said. It's not me. I'm not cooking it up. The story is there. The video is there for you to see.
Let anybody not be deceived. There are faces today that will carry the symbol of some persons, and it will be a curse in this state. People should know that. Because no matter how we've been fooled in this state, it has gotten to a point where this state have decided to take their destiny by their hands. In as much as I don't subscribe to violence, when the time comes for us to take a decision, I will lead the cause for that decision. Let me say it again, and let me say it again. The worst that will happen is me to leave the office. It's not. Am I leaving the earth? Is it going to stop me from existing? So I'm not even bothered about that. But the right thing must be done and must be said when the opportunity is given to us. So let me thank everyone, more especially our youth. Be strong. Don't be batop. Be strong. I assure you, at the right time, you will get the instruction.
So he said that, and the moment the notice was sent to him, some of those youths went back and said, this is an opportunity for us. So that's why we must be careful as leaders, the kind of commentaries we make on both sides anyway, so that it doesn't trigger something that will affect the nation. So that's why the president had to summon an emergency meeting of the service chiefs and other major stakeholders, and the reports he got, he acted based on report. Of course, security issues are not discussed in the public domain, so don't expect them to come and tell you what the reports say. They had gathered information. They even probably know the people behind that or those who sponsored that. So you don't expect the president to just, keep quiet. Yes, some persons have argued that there have been issues in the north where Boko Haram banditry and all that, is happening. And why didn't he also invoke the rule books, the Constitution, to also declare state of emergency? Well, that's the topic for another day. We'll probably begin today, but don't forget, like I said, Rivers State occupies, a major place. So now what's the issue? The issue is political. The drama has been on. Some persons didn't even know that this thing started less than 2 weeks after the inauguration of Governor Sim Fubara as governor of Rivers State. They started having their internal crises back and forth. But let me even remind some of you who do not know, just want to give you that gist. The plan actually was first to impeach the speaker, Right Honorable Martin Chike Amewule. And the person who was to handle that, Rivers people know, man, no talk before he go begin vex. You know how these guys behave. Unfortunately, the people he reached out to, the lawmakers he reached out to, what he gave them was peanuts compared to what they expected or what they maybe heard that the governor had released. So they went back to their own leader, the minister of the FCT, and reported the matter. And of course, there was going to be a clap back. That's when the assembly now decided, okay, if you could arrange that impeachment for the speaker, then we can also do our own. So that's where the drama, and then it led to the bringing down of the assembly, and then these people went to court. And on the 23rd of January, 2024, the Federal High Court under Justice Kayode Omotosho gave a judgment. Let me tell you, the Supreme Court judgment, very many people, I don't know if you have it, me, I did print out my own. Every judgment I print out to study. I don't want to read on my phone so that I will see it clearly black and white. The Supreme Court judgment, there was nothing they said. They actually lifted all that was said at the Federal High Court and at the Court of Appeal. The use of the word despot and dictatorship and all of that were also contained in the judgment of the Court of Appeal. That of the High Court stated clearly there was also no budget. And of course, when there's no budget, is there a government? Let me even tell people, like said before, you can watch me in any of my outings or even on national TV. The arms of government, 3, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. When only one is functioning or 2 only functioning without the rest, there's no government. Government is not about the executive. So when we talk about the governor, we're talking what of the lawmakers and then what of the judiciary. Now, again, there are some information that are not even there in the public domain. In my interview recently on, I think, TVC, you can watch it. Now, let me shock you. The assembly, somebody said the governor is the worst hit. And I said, no. The state assembly, the lawmakers, have not had their salaries for 1 year, 7 months. The governor refused to pay, no allocation to them. The council chairmen who were removed, their tenure expired before 4 months to their tenure elapsed. Their salaries were, their allocations were also seized. The state assembly was brought down. Over what? These are the issues. And we are saying, we shouldn't, they should talk. They must sit down on the table and talk. And then whatever is supposed to get to anybody, the constituents where these people come from, they are also not missing. You are even talking about budget presentation. Who prepared the budget in the first place? You cannot prepare budget without the 27 constituencies, where these lawmakers come from, making inputs. They have to be part of that budget. So who made inputs on their behalf? So these are the issues. So if they are going to use these 6 months to find a way to reconcile and agree, and then of course tell themselves the truth, this is the area we have heard, I think we will make it. If they refuse to do so, well, another 6 months of the emergency rule will stay. I made it open that the worst hit in this emergency thing, it's not even the governor of the state. I think it's the lawmakers, the 27 of them. You know, they had 32, one died, so they had 31. And then one resigned his membership and became the chief of staff to the governor, that's Edison Ehe. So the other 3, Oko Jumbo, Sokari Good Boy, and the other one, 3 of them were on the side of God. So they were the pro-Fubara lawmakers who were passing budgets, who were screening commissioners and making approvals for the governor. So, and he was comfortable with that. I don't know who gave him that idea, but that's how the government had been run for almost a year plus. So they were lucky. They were getting their salaries, they were getting their entitlements, and maybe some constituency projects cited in their own. But the 27 of them who insisted that the governor, did the right thing by obeying the court order, the court judgment of Justice Omotosho, stayed on one side. Do you know what? 1 year, 7 months, they didn't get their salaries. They didn't get their entitlements. They got nothing. They were just managing to live in the assembly quarters and then turned one of the buildings there into the assembly hall where they sit, at plenary and all that. So you can imagine the frustration. And then another 6 months added to 1 year. Please, 1 year, 7 months plus 6 months. That's like 2 years, 1 month without salary, without anything. So you're telling me that the governor who has been having access to funds is the one suffering? No, I don't agree. It's the lawmakers that are worst hit, the Wike group are worst hit. So those who say the president did it to please Wike, and I'm asking, do they also imagine the load that Wike had to carry for those 27 lawmakers who were not being paid? Of course, to an extent, he had to find a way to sustain them. And let me say, in the Occupy ministry, where money day like that, FCT money no day, forget all those figures with the year. We know the ministries that are lucrative, that are juicy. Assuming he was there, probably, maybe, but I don't know how they sorted it out. So that's it, and even before then, the local government chairmen who were like the pro-Wike people too, 4 months into the expiration of their tenure, the governor also stopped all their allocations. I said it. You can also watch it on that program. Stop the allocation, huge money, and then set up a caretaker committee. Those boys, young guys, who we knew yesterday, were loaded with billions of naira, and everywhere was very stewing so well. Their face begin shine, their shoe begin shine, like the band will say. So at the end of the day, everywhere was, people like where the pot of stew is. So almost all the youth, everybody shifted base, while some persons also remained even without being able to reach the Wike core people. So that's what happened. So the drama went on back and forth, and then until the Supreme Court came, we gave its judgment. We expected the governor immediately to organize a world press conference and even talk about the judgment, and then, just say, look, I'm going to implement. But what we heard after some days is that, we're waiting for the CTC of the judgment, and when we get it by Friday, and then we'll look at it and we'll implement. And I asked, were his lawyers not in court that day? What were they going to, what was the CTC of judgment going to say different from what the lawyers would have also told him? To me, it's all gimmicks, all politics. Should have just gone straight to the point, drop that toga of pride or arrogance or whatever anybody wants to describe, or even ignorance to an extent, because when you know the law and know the truth, even when you have bad advisors, you won't listen to them. Let me tell you, when Jonathan saw that he was losing the election in 2015, he didn't wait even for his wife. He didn't even tell anybody in confidence, not even his ADC. All he said is, give me my phone, and they gave him his phone. And he called Buhari even before the INEC could conclude the release of the results, he called Buhari and congratulated him and then stepped aside. That's how a man of peace should operate. If you want peace, there are certain sacrifices you can make. It doesn't matter what it will cost you. People will only talk, but at the end of the day, people will get to appreciate why you did what you did. And that was how Jonathan stepped aside and then allowed Buhari well. It's there for Nigerians to speak whether Buhari did well or not. But I think to an extent, some areas he did well, but some areas is it my mouth. So that's what actually happened. So the governor, unfortunately, had quite a lot of persons who probably told him, now let me now go to the meat of the matter. Everybody's talking. You know, when this kind of thing happens, all of us become lawyers, including me. Everybody is now saying that, oh, the president shouldn't have declared a state of emergency. And the reason is that it's unconstitutional. That word unconstitutional is very sweet to Nigerians, especially when another person is affected. You break the law, and then when you're caught up, you say it's unconstitutional. You're looking for the constitution. Well, the framers of the constitution knew the reason why they put it so. Now, let me tell you what's going on. Was it unconstitutional? Okay, let me put it this way. Was it constitutional when the governor held back the allocation for the state assembly, contrary to the provisions of the law? Was it constitutional when the assembly was pulled down and the place blocked and sitting could not hold? Was it constitutional when the governor did that? Was it even constitutional to defy a valid judgment of the High Court? Was it constitutional to get people to file more than 35 suits when the Court of High Court had given judgment? Was it constitutional when a court of appeal upheld the judgment of the High Court and you defied it and continue to run the state without a budget, without a valid budget, without an assembly of 3 people, one a speaker, one a deputy speaker, one a majority leader? The question is, who were the members? Was it also constitutional when you appeared before the state assembly quarters without a proper communication channel, no correspondence, to inform them that you want to present the budget? Was it constitutional to just do that? Was it constitutional for you to leave that event that same day and you were found in Bori the next minute commissioning projects? There's so many constitutionality and non-constitutional. In fact, they started with this constitutional thing the moment the president stepped in the first time to make peace, where an 8-point peace pact was signed. The governor signed and accepted. And I was like, oh, this man is good, though. He has accepted for the interest of peace. He said there's nothing too big to be sacrificed for peace. And the world clapped for him. But 2 days after, we saw elders. Even the same elders who are now saying it's unconstitutional were the ones who said, it was not constitutional for the president to intervene, that he should go to court. The court has spoken. And now you are saying it's not constitutional. You went again to see the president. I don't know which one. We don't need to separate this one. Which one is constitutional and which one is not unconstitutional. So the truth of the matter is that leaders should be prepared for governance. Yes, you must have advisors, friends around you, but you should be able to separate the wheat from the chaff and take a position even without minding whose ox is God. And this 6 months with this military administrator, who is actually a Nigerian, and I think that this governor can actually put his house together, get the assemblymen, get to Wike, get some other stakeholders, and then see how they can make peace so that this thing will be shortened. I think even within 3 months, we can resolve this matter and they will come back and continue. But if they continue to buga, well, it's not my business what the president will do again. So that's the end of today's episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, share. Give us your feedback so that we'll know what your interest area is, so we can also update you. Remember, it is your favorite channel, the fastest growing channel on YouTube, the Crystal Beam Podcast. Call your friends, call your family, and get them to join us. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.